ASG, on IG at Lagos State Gov. I hope we got that. So it also gives me pleasure to welcome directors from the Ministry of Information and Strategy. I'll start with the Director of Social Media, that's Dr. Jide Atosuyi. Please give me a round of applause. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Director of Public Enlightenment and Community Relations, Mr. Goke Afolayan. Please give me a round of applause. The Director of Strategy, Mr. Kayode Oyekomi. Please give me a round of applause. And just joining us right now is the Director of Public Affairs, Mr. Adeshegun Ogundeji. We also have in our midst the Director of Admin and Human Resource, Mrs. Seriki Uriola. Please give her a round of applause. All right, by extension, I would like to recognize all directors here present from the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, and agencies under the commerce sector. Please put your hands together for yourselves. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I acknowledge your presence too, and then kindly welcome with me to this gathering my distinguished colleagues and the fourth estate of the realm, gentlemen of the press. Welcome. Once again, I welcome you all to this important gathering. Please give yourselves a round of applause. At this juncture, I will be inviting to the microphone respectfully the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Information and Strategy, Mr. Bingo Motosho, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Strategy, to open this event officially and set the tone for us. You have the floor, sir.
All protocols will be extended. This is the second session of the Ministerial press briefings being held today. It's the turn of the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment. And as we all know, this ministry plays a critical role in affecting the lives of the people of Lagos. It drives investments, it regulates cooperative societies, and it is also a ministry that a few days ago initiated a landmark event in this state, and I'm sure the Honorable Commissioner will be briefing us about this event. So I please urge our friends from the press to take advantage of this session to clarify issues, to make inquiries, and to also report us widely after this event holds this afternoon. I welcome you all and I wish you a good listening session.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we proceed, I would like to recognize the presence of a very important person. If you have ever seen a newspaper called Alausa Alerts, he is the Chief Editor, Director, Mr. Tayo Ogunbi. Please give him a round of applause. All right, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is the time we have been waiting for. I will be ceding the microphone to the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Mrs. Folashade Kausarat Bagda Ambrose, to give us an account of the journey so far and how the ministry's activities and achievements have impacted the growth of Lagos State. You have the floor now.
Good afternoon, and thank you very, very much. Particularly given the fact that you accommodated need to change the date. So I really want to say thank you to the HC of Information and Strategy, and by extension his entire team for that. Good afternoon, all. I'd like to acknowledge the Chairman, House Committee on Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Honorable Mustain Abiodun Tobu, sir. Good afternoon. My brother, the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Information and Strategy, Mr. Bingo Omotosho, ably represented by PS, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of... Can we give the Honorable Commissioner of Commerce the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, Cooperative Trade and Investment, Dr. Y2025 Aino. Heads of agencies. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Strategy, Mr. Olumide. Heads of agencies, particularly the GM La Scopa, Mr. Afolabi Sholemo, Esquire. And La Scopa stands for the Lagos State Consumer Protection Agency. And the Managing Director, Lekki Worldwide Investments Limited. The Managing Director, Mr. Adeni as well, who is also here. And the Senior Special Assistant to Mr. Governor on Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Mrs. Hawa Adeyo. Heads of departments, heads of units, and other directors from the MCCTI family. You're most welcome. Directors from the Ministry of Information and Strategy, and I'm actually going to acknowledge Alausa Alerts. I'm sure we'll be front page this time. I'm acknowledging you. Front page. Distinguished guests, gentlemen and ladies of the press, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Folashade Kausarabata Ambrose, and I'm delighted to be here to deliver the Ministerial Briefing 2025 of the second year Progress and Outlook. Can we have the next slide, please? I don't know who's holding that. Okay. All right, so I'd love you to just appreciate some of the images here. We just mentioned some of our flagship current and future planned projects. Can we go straight to slide 5, please? Straight to slide 5. So I love the introduction that the Permanent Secretary initially gave. No, slide 5, one back. Thank you. Lagos State, as we all know, is Nigeria's economic powerhouse. It boasts a vibrant economy, contributing roughly a quarter of Nigeria's GDP. When we're talking about Lagos State has solidified its status as an economic powerhouse with a GDP in the region of $260 billion. We are actually the second largest economy in Africa, behind only Ireland. And it's underscored by strong projections, which you can see outlined herewith, by way of the fact that we contribute more than 30% of Nigeria's GDP, consume more than 60% of Nigeria's energy, account for 90% of Nigerian foreign trade, generate over 50% of Nigeria's port revenues, and 70% of the state revenue internally generated. So I just really want to contextualize this so that we have a full understanding of what and how mighty Lagos State is. The mandate of the Ministry of Commerce, next slide 8 please. The mandate of the ministry, quite frankly, is threefold. We are about driving economic prosperity and growth. We're about focusing on trade, and we're about strengthening the organized private sector through MSMEs, through industrialization. Can we go back until I say please? No, can we go back? I haven't finished. Thank you. Industrialization, startups, they're very important, as also nanos, which are the grassroots, solopreneurs, and women. How we intend to achieve that are through 8 key levers: ensuring that we're driving policy, ensuring that industrialization is thriving by way of ensuring we have the right industries and factories, ensuring that commerce is really thriving, free trade zones are operational, investment is consistent, trade missions outside, and ensuring we're driving bilateral trade, ensuring that we're transforming cooperative societies Ensuring that research and development and the consumer protection, when they say customer is king, is also being attended to. Those are the core mandates of the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment. Next slide, please. So when we start to talk about that, clearly it's important that we have a clarity of purpose and we have a strategic framework and a pathway in order to ensure we're focusing on the right things in all that we do. So you heard me talk about commerce. So what are the throughputs of which commerce really are going to be playing on? It's about ensuring that we're servicing MSMEs by way of policy advisory, ensuring the ease of doing business is really working, identifying gaps, understanding what best practice looks like, and making sure everything we're doing is not just closing the gap, but ensuring Lagos State is world-class, hence the gap analysis. Providing advisory services where required, completing and releasing industry reports, and like I said, strengthening by way of capacity building as well. When we're talking about trade, the comparative advantage needs to be identified and making sure that we're leveraging it optimally by way of the land, infrastructure, financialization. I'll come to that later as I go through the presentation. Ensuring we have the right amenities and we're actually driving manufacturing and making sure the Lekki Free Zone through the Lekki Worldwide Investment Limited company is working. Our third arm is investment. Looking for funding, ensuring we can finance it through PPPs, centralized approach, partnership, affordable access to finance, collaterals, guarantees, and really making sure that the investment fora is very strong. And finally, ensuring we do our best to identify the entire rank and file of the informal sector, because when we're talking about cooperatives, they are the economic backbone in other clients, and that is what we're trying to drive here. So data is one of them, which is why you see the social register, ensuring we have the right data, ensuring the loans, health insurance, and housing scheme. The framework is very thorough. Next. As I turn the pages, we can actually just... Brilliant. And so what we try to do, you can see we have a number of images here, really, is when they say a picture says 1,000 words. Our overall word in the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment for 2025 is transformation. And we've really identified that because that's essentially what we want to achieve. So we're taking bold steps and making sure that we're identifying and creating a transformative blueprint in order to revolutionize the way commercial and industrial sectors operate. And I mentioned how, I've outlined the framework, and these are sort of the three key levers on which we're going to be really putting a lot of attention. PPPs is key, digital innovation is key, and ensuring that we're driving prosperity, shared prosperity, in order to enhance efficiency, streamline operations, and ensure sustainable economic growth. Entrepreneurial spirit is thriving, and we are indeed maintaining our position as the commercial first hub of Africa. And so over the past year, MCCTI has accelerated initiatives to transform Lagos into a 21st century economy. And it's really important, when I say 21st century economy, this is in accordance and in line with Mr. Governor Babajide Olushola's development framework, Themes Plus. And the M is making Lagos State a 21st century economy. And we have actually keyed into that very aggressively by ensuring that we understand what that means to us. And what it means to us is that means attracting investments, empowering businesses, building sustainable industrial infrastructure, and deepening climate reforms. So, our objective accordingly is about ensuring we're supporting large corporates in key sectors, access to affordable finance, ensuring that we're optimizing all the free trade zones in order to continue to attract investments and facilitate industrial activities. There's no economy that cannot thrive without jobs. And when we create jobs, we generate prosperity. Enhancing revenue and promoting local production. Made in Lagos is one of our pathways. What have we achieved over the last year? I'm delighted to share that Lagos State hosted one of the most high-profile investment roundtables themed Opportunity Made in Lagos. the Smart Investor's Choice, which was led by the inimitable Mr. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who showcased 35 transformative projects across all sectors: transportation, agriculture, technology, healthcare, tourism, and energy. And we also included opportunities in the Lekki Free Zone, and you can see the images there. And what we also wanted to do was we specifically curated the participants that attended that event, because the whole essence of it really was not just to showcase, but to showcase it to the right audience. An outcome of that, and I'm really happy to share with you, is that one of the outcomes of that investment roundtable was that we were able to achieve a partnership with Abu Dhabi Ports. And their intention is really about working with us to come and develop a critical infrastructure within the Lekki corridor. And they have pledged a $200 million partnership with us in Lagos State, which is a direct result, thank you, a direct result of our initial intervention. And so what you see there are images of the meetings we've held and their actual team who flew in for a site visit. So watch this space. Strategic global alliances are very important as well. So what we've done in MCCTI is identify who our stakeholders are, identify those that we need to engage with, and use and partner in order to achieve our outlined objectives. And a notable milestone of that is an outcome that you see here when Mr. Governor is holding up the MOU that we signed, Lagos State signed, by way of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, positioning Lagos as a gateway for trade and investment among 56 Commonwealth nations globally. This partnership opens the door to a network of collective countries whose collective GDP equates and exceeds $13 trillion. So you can imagine the opportunities that we have opened amongst ourselves. Recently, Mr. Governor actually attended in the UK the first Commonwealth event, through which we also presented and held our roundtable therein that time. Further strategic global alliances are with the Swedish government. We've also ensured we've driven that with the United States, the EU by way of the European Union trade missions, and we've hosted delegations from G7 countries. The picture you see here is where His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, actually held a meeting with the Swedish ambassador in Nigeria, the Swedish Minister for Infrastructure and Housing, the Crown Princess of Sweden, and a number of other dignitaries who attended, notably including the actual Nigerian ambassador to Sweden, who actually accompanied them when they visited us in Lagos. And needless to say, when she came, she spent, I think, in excess of 2 to 3 days, because there's so much investment opportunities to see, so much arts, culture, and tourism, business opportunities to see, and I'm pretty sure we'll be coming back to you next year with outcomes from that visit. Further strategic global alliances, and by the way, these are excerpts, we can't include all of them, but these are just some of them that we're sharing with you today. We also hosted, in my ministry, the Indian delegation from the Confederation of the Indian Industry, CII, who visited Lagos State in order to really understand what our major strategy is. And we were delighted to share that with them. We have a deal book, which we shared. I think I have it, a copy of it here. So we actually have a deal book, which is very clear. And it outlines specifically the sectors for investments. And we have the same for the Lekki Economic Zone as well. So we shared that with them. We had a number of interesting and very promising progressive conversations with them. And I'm very, very delighted to say that very, very soon we'll also be sharing the outcome of that. As you know, with investments, it takes the lead time. It's not something that's just a meeting. It requires a series of meetings and a number of conversations. But the good thing is, it's happening. Further ones, also strategic global alliances, include embassies and consulates. We have established very strong relationships and engagements with, as I mentioned, India. I mentioned the Swedish. I'm also mentioning the UAE, I'm mentioning Germany, and I can go on, because it's really important that bilateral trade must have relationships and for it to strengthen. So you can see here some of the pictures that we're sharing with you with the Consul General for the United Arab Emirates, who we had conversations with, and a lot of things are also occurring in that space. Now, it's interesting that one thing, I like using analogies when I speak, and I'm going to use a very short analogy here. When you're building a house, it's important to have what? A very good and strong foundation. Do you agree? Yes. It's very important. And so when the foundation is strong, not only will the house stand for the test of time, but it will also inspire others to come back and also build within that area. And so one of the things, and the reason I use that analogy is one of our mandates, and our core mandate is ensuring that the ease of doing business is very, 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 very strong, is improving, and ultimately ensuring that it's driving and improving investor confidence. And so, accordingly, the Lagos State commitment to the ease of doing business has been really focused on ensuring that those multiple platforms are improving. By way of the State Action, the World Bank supported State Action Business Enabling Reform, SABA. And there are a number of critical reforms that have been called out. Land administration, you can see that my analogy was quite good in that respect. Investment promotion, tax transparency, PPP, strong, transparent frameworks, and ensuring that where, in the unusual case, a commercial dispute happens, there is a very strong framework in place in order to drive and resolve matters. So when we start to look at some of our achievements, we talk about the operationalized e-planning platform to streamline building approvals. We've achieved a strong land registration and construction permit process, all online with full disclosure of timelines and fees. We've ensured that we've achieved specialized small claims commercial courts, where it's been digitized, enabling quicker dispute resolution. Tax registration and payment processes are digitized now on the Lagos Revenue Portal. Infrastructural development charges are eliminated for 2-floor warehouses, reducing business setup costs. These are some of our achievements. I can hear the applause. She humbly says. And then also about improving further discussions on improving the business climate and investor confidence. We've been able to secure over $4 million in SABA disbursements just because Lagos State focused, delivered, and executed excellently well. As a result, multiple credit agencies have noted improvements in Lagos State's business environment, and foreign direct investment interest in Lagos has surged, exemplified by the International Finance Corporation's recent $50 million investment to expand the Lagos Free Zone, a strong vote of confidence in our state. Further ease of doing business reforms, I alluded earlier that we've ensured that our disbursed linked indicators are fully met, and we've been able to achieve the incentives as a result of that. The essence of the ease of doing business, as we all know, is to rate the states in terms of how they have simplified the process for business startups, how they have assisted new businesses coming in to kickstart their operations, how the program is backed by a $750 million International Development Association credit as a concessional financial assistance to countries. And I'm delighted to say Lagos State has been able to meet all criteria and obtain the relevant acknowledgements as well. Thank you. So diaspora and local industry engagement as well. Next slide, please. We continue. When I opened, I mentioned that one of the biggest things that we did each year, we did it last year, we did it again at the beginning of this year, is to identify all our stakeholders and make sure that we're working assiduously with them. And one of our core stakeholders is what we call the business membership organizations. And through them, we are able to feel the pulse, we're able to understand their pain points, and we're able to ensure that our policies are not only fit for purpose, but they're actually addressing key challenges. So what you see here is just a cross-section of those engagements that we've had. We've also participated and ensured that we also engage even with the small business levels as well. So these are just snapshots, because sometimes in order to just reduce the words, pictures, as they say, and depict 1,000 words. So that's just something you see. I'm going to mention a little bit on this one. I mentioned that it's also about understanding some of the issues, understanding some of the pain points. And when you think about cooperatives in Lagos State, we benchmarked ourselves against cooperatives that are doing well globally. And we've understood that there's some areas for improvement. And in order for us to improve, we need to work with the relevant stakeholders who have the relevant subject matter expertise and understanding to ensure that we drive that. Case in point being, one of the areas that we realize is that in order to strengthen the governance, in order to ensure that the right outcomes that are the essence, the very essence of cooperatives is all about, which is about what? Which is about what? Cooperatives. Why do we establish cooperatives? Pardon? Absolutely. It's about pooled resources to ensure that everyone can actually utilize the funds going forward. And in some cases where that's not been able to be achieved, we've realized that we needed to work with certain stakeholders. And those are what you see, as you see there, some of the stakeholders that we have engaged to drive that. Further high-level policy engagement, following our successes. I'm delighted to share this particular slide because we were called to represent the executive governor of Lagos State to the villa in Abuja. And we were invited by His Excellency, the Vice President of Nigeria. And we were invited for a reason. They have observed the great strides that we've been able to achieve in Lagos State. And decided to invite us as a sub-sovereign to come and join the African Union MSME Forum, of which Nigeria won the bid. And we have been invited as Lagos State to sit on the committee and ensure that we deliver a successful event. And the focus this year is really twofold about digital transformation and ensuring that economic integration is achieved through MSME. So you can see me there with His Excellency, you can see there with a number of high dignitaries from the Executive Council of His Excellency, the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu's cabinet, and you can see me there answering some questions when I was asked. Thank you. Services to investors. Now when you talk about investment, it's not just about attracting investment, it's also about retaining them. And that is something that we understand very, very well in our ministry. And we continue to roll out structured aftercare programs. We continue to proactively go out and engage. We continue to listen and resolve issues, even though some of the issues are outside the actual ministry's domain, which is why we have called it a one-stop shop. So we will actually be that interface and that intermediary, and we ensure that we go out and engage and make sure that the issues in questions are all resolved. We're also leveraging technology, ensuring that digital access is also provided. Empowerment and entrepreneurship. I already alluded to this, but I just really wanted to explain that a number of things that we've been doing is about simplifying tax, revolutionizing MSME access to finance. I will come back to that. In fact, maybe I'll allude to it now. One of the biggest things we were able to achieve, it took us in excess of almost 5 months, where we identified and listened to the BMOs, which I alluded to earlier. And they mentioned two big things as their problems of doing businesses. And one of them was energy, power. And we all know that's been addressed by the recent Lagos Energy Summit that was held just a few weeks ago by my colleague, the Honorable Commissioner for Energy, of which Mr. Governor chaired. The second one was really about access to affordable finance. That's squarely within our ministry. And so we took time out, sat down and really tried to understand. And what we decided to do was to partner by way of the BOI, Bank of Industry Match Funding Program, which you can all see here, which is the program that we launched last week. And it's called LASMECO, which is Lagos State Access to Finance for SMEs through cooperatives. Remember, I also talked about cooperatives and how we can strengthen them, strengthen the database, strengthen their economic impact. And one of the things that we came up with was understanding that not every business in Lagos State has access to land. Not every business in Lagos State has access to so many of the other collaterals which a number of other banks have. So what we were able to achieve was to provide a loan with an initial fund of 10 billion, of which Lagos State, can we give applause for Mr. Governor, who provided 5 billion naira at 0% in order for us to, Bank of Industry, to match that, resulting in a 9% rate, single-digit loan rate, unprecedented, non-collateralized, 6-month moratorium, and available for up to 10 million per MSMEs. And that was what we launched. So not only do we listen, we actually take action. And in addition, we don't just leave you there. We're also going to be working with those MSMEs that qualify, that is those businesses that are actually going concerns, ensuring that we help them with their books, ensure that we help them manage their businesses, and we're actually partnering with an initial bank, Sterling Bank. Mr. Governor, you heard that they encourage other banks to come and work with us. And I'm saying and echoing Mr. Governor's message here again, inviting other banks to join us. We look forward to returning next year and sharing a lot of success stories. We also provided 150 MSMEs with exhibition space to showcase their made in Lagos products. We provided over 500 entrepreneurs who benefited from specialized training, and we also ensured that we rehabilitated our small-scale industry estates at Matori 1. Recognizing that human capital is key to MSMEs, the Lagos State Cooperative College, LASCOCO, also ensured that they are driving wide-scale capacity building drives, and you can see here that they've so far been able to achieve over 2,500 cooperative members have been trained in modern business management, financial literacy, and governance practices. The college, thank you, applause please. Thank you. The college also kicked off a vocational training program called Skill Up. And I'm just going to take a step back and contextualize why they have done this. So Lagos State Cooperative College, when we took a step back, a lot of investors are coming to Lagos State to do business. Another pain point was that they really need local content. And that was something that we identified and felt that we have this facility, it needs to be also fit for purpose. So we've also been very pragmatic, working with the City and Guilds curriculum and training them so that they can also fulfill the demands and the needs, and making sure we're driving them to take up industrial internship placements so that they can actually be ultimately employed. So that's what you see there in terms of the Skill Up Vocational Training College that LASCOCO is doing. And also, we're delighted to confirm and announce that the college, Lagos State Cooperative and Entrepreneurial College, also has now commissioned an ultra-modern facility that is now complete and furnished and ready for commissioning by His Excellency, Mr. Governor of Lagos State. Skill and entrepreneurship permeates the entire throughput of the ministry. And so you see here that we're also acknowledging the interim accreditation of computer science at the national board level, ensuring that not over and beyond the City and Guilds vocational qualifications, that we're also driving that within the college as well. Industrial infrastructure and the Lekki Industrial College is a new Lekki Industrial Corridor is a new initiative being facilitated under Lewell. The Lagos Free Zone, as we all know, hosts currently 30 active enterprises. It's been established for in excess of over 20-something years. But what we also know is that so far, only 25% of the land uptake is actually been taken up. We need to accelerate that. Hence, Operation Quadrant Ignite. Founded on the bold and transformative vision of the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives on Trade and Investments, and working in collaboration with the Managing Director of Lekki Worldwide, who are accountable for driving investment and trade and commerce within that Lekki economic zone. And so industrialization, trade, and sustainable economic developments are key levers that we're pulling. So the overall essence of OQI is to address those critical challenges. Why, after 20-something years, are we only taking up 25% uptake of the land? Lagos is open for business, and we really want to attract them. But part of our job, and you know, as they say, insanity is doing the same thing the same way all the time. So we've tried to identify how we can capitalize, and ensure that we drive and create a thriving ecosystem. So we focus on, OQI is focused on asset optimization, catalytic fund establishment, infrastructure enhancement, investment, promotion, sustainability, development, optimization of the Lekki deep sea port, global competitiveness, and economic diversification. In the interest of time, I'm trying to whiz through, but obviously all these slides will be made available, and I'm sure during the Q&A session, if there's anything you want to ask, I'm more than happy to answer as many as I can. So the OQI, Operation Quadrant Ignite, is the establishment of a catalytic fund. Again, it's also about democratizing MSMEs' ability to have their businesses thrive. And so one of the things we've also done is trying to think out of the box, be innovative, and engage with the PPP, private sector players. So a private equity firm we're working with, venture capitalists we're engaging to see how we can come up with a fund that will be provided so that businesses can actually come in and start working rather than investing all their funds in the land, which obviously is will cost certain amounts of money. So the pictures you see there was us launching that recently in Lagos. I already alluded to this already. So the catalytic fund is threefold. It's about project preparation funds, providing better concessionary funding, and ensuring that we can also drive export credit funding as well. Now, beyond that, industrial and the Lekki Industrial Corridor is about ensuring we're driving new industrial infrastructure. And in Ikorodu, we've done just that. So the picture you see here, yes, please applaud. We constructed the small-scale industrial estate at Berigwe, intended to host 44 units of light manufacturing and agro-processing businesses. And will be delivered in the third quarter, and we have similar plans in Ikeja, Ilupeju, Oshodi, Solo, and in Abu Odofi. Now, we also looked at our industrial policy as well, and we've held a number of sessions already. Right now, the ministry has drafted the policy to take us to from 2025 to 2030. We've also ensured that we've addressed the existing structural challenges, what are the opportunities, and made this policy an actionable policy. So this is different. This is not just a policy and writing. Within the policy, how it is going to work is also included in it. And we've ensured that it focuses on infrastructure development, ease of doing business, export competitiveness, promoting Lagos made globally, sustainability and inclusivity. This is the session that we had, the Consultative and Validation Assembly. We included key stakeholders, notably the United Nations Development Organization, UNIDO, and many other key stakeholders as well, chambers of commerce, and so on and so forth. This was the first one we held. You'll be interested to know that we also gave them the copy, so when they took it away, they still came back. And what did we do in the ministry? We still accommodated them to ensure that ensuring that what we're putting together is a collectively owned industrial policy that will change the landscape. We're also ensuring that we're partnering as well. In collaboration with the Lagos State Ministry of Health, we're also proposing that Lagos State establishes the Lagos State Medical, Industrial and Innovation Zone. Why can we not be producing our own medical tools? How can we not be producing our own sort of, what do you call it, you're the doctor, what do you call it, equipment, consumables, and all of the above. So here you see, I'm here with the Commissioner of Health, the Managing Director of the Lagos Free Zone, Lekki Free Zone, and myself and some other key potential investors. We're actually looking at how this can be established, and it is very much work in progress. Asset optimization, 90% of international multinationals in Nigeria are actually headquartered in Lagos, and that's a fact. Now, we all know that businesses can have the, peaks and troughs. And so one of the outcomes is that, in spite of that, we also ensure we continue to treat incoming and exiting investors the same way. Case in point being an industrial facility, $100 million investment, Kimberly Clark Industrial Facility in Odoguyon in Ikorodu. It was commissioned in 2022, comprising of 86,000 square meters of prime land. Now, you can see all the historical context, and I think it actually was in the papers all over. And they exited for certain economic challenging reasons and costs, etc. And we took a step back, we engaged them, we did everything that we could to retain them. But one of the things that we also realized is this land is actually located in the Lagos State Industrial Zone. And so one of the things that we did was we worked with them, and they were very impressed with our professionalism, and decided to hand over that facility after they had removed all their equipment and intellectual machinery. And we thought, why we can't just leave this piece of land to be fallow. And so we realized that we needed to come up with a flexible utilization strategy for us to try and see how we can make sure that we resuscitate this particular facility, and we establish an open competitive process under Mr. Governor's leadership and his approval. So that's what you see, expression of interest and request for proposals. We advertised, and it was an incredibly transparent process. And I'm delighted to say that in December, Mr. Governor also visited the facility, which we now call the Lagos State Industrial Facility in Ikorodu. And in addition, and accompanying him on that visit, you can see I am there. You can see some of my colleagues. Notably, the other person that was there was SA Infrastructure, because like I mentioned, ease of doing business, the roads needed to be ensured that that's also set up successfully. You can see the facility there. So I'm very delighted to say that it's very much work in progress. Watch this space, and I'm delighted to say that the person that will be taking over is Nigerian and local content. So jobs will be created, and we're going to make sure this place is working again with our Nigerians. Thank you. Ease of doing business and saber, I've already alluded to this, and so I really won't go over that. But one thing that I will say is that we're very clear that everything that has been outlined by way of criteria from the World Bank through their saber program, Lagos State has delivered on that successfully. Another major achievement is the operationalization of the Lekki Deep Sea Port, Nigeria's first deep sea port located in the Lekki Free Zone and successfully launched, ensuring that everything in there is fully automated and able to attend to all the incoming and outgoing trade logistics. Next slide, please. And what you see there is Mr. Governor commissioning that. And when I say commissioning, he commissioned Nigeria's largest ever shipped container that berthed in our shores of Lagos State. And roughly, it's actually going to be making sure that we revolutionize that, and it's actually already started. In August last year, we secured a 400 million euro funding package dedicated to overhauling and greening the public water transportation system. And this will integrate road, rail, and water transport networks. And what does that mean? It means that we're going to be having 15 strategic routes across the Lagos Lagoon. It means we're upgrading 25 jetties and ferry terminals. It means that we're acquiring 75 electric-powered vessels. This is Lagos. Lagos is an eco-friendly maritime transport state, and it's also focused on decarbonizing public transportation as well. And so also, we've partnered, as I mentioned, with businesses in accordance with our strategy. And one of them is the African Import and Export Solutions. And an intensive export to sell capacity building program was held, where we trained and co-trained over 2,000 Lagos-based MSMEs to access regional markets by leveraging the AFTA and satisfying the required standards for international markets. And that's what you see there. No applause. I'll be fast. I'll go as quickly as I can. So we're focusing on capacity, infrastructure, supporting MSEs. ECOWAS is another agency that we're working with as well, ultimately ensuring that we're in accordance with them. I'm delighted to share with you that we've also secured, watch this space, we actually secured the partnership with the African Exports Import Bank, Afrexim Bank, who has partnered with us to drive trade facilitation on export capacity building readiness for 250 MSMEs in Lagos. Thank you. So that's me on the left, explaining myself to the entire management and board. One of them is actually a Nigerian. That lady in yellow is Oluranti Doati, who is our fellow Nigerian, doing us proud there. And what you also see there is another Nigerian lady, that's the Deputy Managing Director of Afrexim Bank. I'll whiz through this as quickly as I can. A lot of what we're doing, when I mentioned decarbonizing, we're also making sure that we're intentional about that. And when we're talking to investors, we're also driving that. So green energy investment, waste management and circular economy initiative, climate investment and partnerships are some of the efforts to use as an illustration. And I'm happy to say that we're going to be launching the very first public charging electronic vehicles in partnership with Sterling Bank and QMEL very soon. We're also going to be launching the Waste Bank Initiative for Circular Economy and Community Engagement at the Lekki Free Zone again, as well, very soon. Energy. We don't just want to be wasting energy and turning energy into into energy. Waste to Watts is another plant that we're converting, and you'll be watching this space also in the Lekki Free Zone. That's something that we're focusing on. Ultimately, it's really about ensuring that we're reducing our vulnerability to climate change and protecting Lagos State, mitigating the risks, building infrastructural capacity, building the vulnerable groups in high-risk zones, and making sure we have a resilient transport network as well. Ikosi Biogas Project is another example. And Lasmeco is another one. I know I already mentioned it, but we're so proud of what we achieved that I just have to show it to you again. And I really would like to ask the press here today. You have heard, and I'm sure a lot of MSMEs groaning about their inability to access to affordable finance. Lagos State has taken that bold step. I'm really imploring you all to really share this. Any information that you ask or require about it, please, just come and ask us. The MOU has been signed and we're ready to go. These are just further pictures of that. It's a non-collateralized loan focusing on strategic sectors, specifically women. I have to say that first. Women. Healthcare, agriculture, creative industries, manufacturing, and the circular economy are the initial sectors that we're focusing on. And you can see it was incredibly well attended, and we're still getting calls about that. The Lagos State Consumer Protection Agency, LASCOPA, carried out its mandate under the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperative Trade and Investment, and they have always continued to consistently achieve unequal dedication and unparalleled commitment to safeguarding the interests of our consumers. This year, they recovered in excess of 140 million naira in compensation for an outright refund of payments for returns of standard goods, products, and services. In excess of 30 million was recovered as a credit adjustment for electricity consumers from the Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company, and a sum of over 1 million naira was also recovered as a credit adjustment for electricity consumers for electricity distribution company. These are just excerpts of what has been achieved. Consumer protection is non-negotiable. Out of over almost 2,000 complaints, over almost 1,400 were resolved through mediation. It's needless to say that when we say GM La Scopa, Esquire. We can give him a round of applause. Supermarkets and provisions know about us, and we're setting the precedent. We've instituted litigation where some are just simply repetitive offenders. And likewise, you can see public enlightenment, sensitization, are proactive steps that we're taking, and you can see that we always ensure that we celebrate well consumer rights, ensure that we drive certain things in order to ensure that we achieve the fairness, accessibility, and equity for all consumers in Lagos State. So what is the future outlook? We are framing the future. We have a strong foundation in place. The ministry's focus shifts to the future. We have categorized it in a three-fold framework: the short, medium, and long term. And when we talk about short term, we're specifically ensuring, I just talked to you about our initial one which we just launched, which was actually in the short term, that's Lasmenko. You can see here, when I mentioned that launch took almost 5 months. So this is when we went to them in Lagos, I went to them in Abuja, and we were consistent, we engaged with the rank and file. We actually even had Mr. Governor's leadership. Can we give a round of applause to Mr. Governor? Because he understood the vision and he keyed into it, and he drove us incredibly rigorously to make sure that what we achieved is actually going to be a game changer. And we're very, very proud of that. I also alluded to our industrial policy, which we're about to finish, our ease of doing business as well, which we've also alluded, and I'm delighted to share that we're also going to be sharing and launching the Light Industrial Park in Monta, which will be commissioned in Q3, but this is what you can see. It's a block of factory units nearing completion, and we look forward to thriving businesses coming to share their success stories next year. Medium term, Lagos, we have various industrial initiatives. Conservatively, 50,000 of the new direct jobs will be created in the Lekki corridor alone. Remember, I mentioned Operation Quadrant Ignite. That is why we're positioning ourselves and making sure our strategy is clear. I just spoke to you about the repurposed industrial facility in Ikorodu as well, and making sure the jobs and the locals are actually going to come back and work with our fellow Nigerian business owner very soon. This one is dear to our heart in the ministry, isn't it? In Lagos State, we have so many events going on. And one of the things that we actually are going to be driving here under the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperative and Investment is the building, construction of a world-class Lagos International Convention Center. And we are working assiduously on it. As you can see, we have already got our architects who have drawn it, and our very important mascot. I'm from Lagos, almost I can see that Ayo is one of our mascots there. But you'll be delighted to know that under Mr. Governor's administration, we look forward to making sure that he launches this. I've already talked to you about Lasmiso. And when I mentioned Lasmiso, I was talking about vaccines and drug discovery. We're talking about collaborations, pharmaceutical development, research and development labs, manufacturing. We have the brains, and we want to be the gateway, and we are the gateway in Africa. And that is why the Lagos State Medical Industrial Innovation Zone is going to be constructed. You already saw the pictures and axes of the vision. Thank you. Regional leadership in Africa, we are really trying to aggressively pursue the Africa Investment Forum. Watch this space, we're working on that. And now long term, i.e. beyond 5 years, what we want to do is, Lagos State has a 30-year strategy called Lagos State Development Plan 2052. It transcends administration. Case in point, the Lekki Free Zone was established by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over 20 years ago, correct? And we now have the baton, right? And what we want to ensure is that when Mr. Governor hands over that baton, we hand over something so that the next administration can continue and ensure that LSDP 2052 strategy actually comes to fruition. And so that's why, yes, please, applause. why we're ensuring that we achieve a diversified economy, a global trade, and smart, sustainable city. Our objective in MCCTI is to hand over it better than how we met it. In spite of everything that we have said, and I'm very happy to say, when His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State, you'll be delighted to know that our current governor was the Honorable Commissioner of Commerce, Competition, Trade, and Investment. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's important that we are not just the ones that are actually sharing our success stories. Listening to feedback. They say feedback is the food of champions. And we proactively engage with all our stakeholders. And you'll be delighted that the feedback they've been giving us has been good and improvements. And we've obviously addressed some of the areas that they outlined by way of improvements. But for instance, local industries and business associations have lauded the state's commitment to improving the business environment. LCCI, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, observed our growing investor confidence, observed our addressing and reduction of bureaucratic bottlenecks and infrastructural improvements. They commend the government's active engagement, and they recall that during the investment roundtable, top executives were able to voice their concerns, and that actually is something that we drive through BOS Meets the Business Community, which we're planning to hold this year. And I'm happy to say that when Mr. Governor holds the fort and chairs that session, then I'm sure they'll be delighted at some of the resolutions that he has been able to achieve. And manufacturers also appreciate investments in industrial estates. In fact, the president of MAN described the Lagos State BOI MSME SMECO program as a testament to the power of collaboration. He termed it a breakthrough in the efforts to bridge the financing gap and unlocking the full potential of MSMEs within the state. He commended Mr. Governor and obviously the leadership within the state. The leadership of the NACIMA, Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, NACIMA, also echoed similar sentiments. For many, the next one please. For many, the new MSME fund, LASMECO fund, is a game changer. Testimonials are continuing to pour in from the youth, from startups, from exports, etc. There's so many programs that we're going to continue to do to further strengthen and ensure we achieve this. The cooperative is being revolutionized and is going to be rejuvenated. MSMEs also appreciate the interventions and the free trade space that we provide. The next slide, please. Likewise, CWEC, the International Finance Corporation, UAE, Abu Dhabi ports, etc. They've all commended us, and you can see that their confidence is reflected in the amount of money they've actually put down to invest as a result of our intervention. And you already saw the picture, but I'll mention it again. You know, Presidency and PEPEC have commended us, the Vice President commended us exclusively, commended Mr. Governor on this groundbreaking initiative, and actually went as far, you'll be delighted to hear, about increasing the funds and ensuring that we focus more on women as a result. Impact on the general public and the workforce, now those are the people we serve. Lagos State is in excess of how many people right now? I think in excess of 25 million. People are in Lagos State, the workforce, the youth, the consumers, the public. And we're making sure that we're listening to them, addressing their concerns, and driving that all the way through. And I'd like to conclude by saying that we have been recognized. Next slide, please. We have been recognized. Recently, the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, ASBON, awarded Mr. Governor the MSME Most Supported Governor of the Year 2025. And on behalf of the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperative Trade and Investment, I was also given the Commissioner of the Year for Business Friendly Reforms 2025. And it's a hat-trick. The Ministry also received the SME Most Supportive State Ministry of the Year Award 2025. of the Themes Plus agenda of Mr. Governor. Our programs are clear and I've outlined that. We've outlined our achievements. We will continue to forge ahead with pace and urgency and tell you here that we're reaffirming our unwavering commitment to accountability, transparency, and excellence in service delivery. And we will continue to render an account of our stewardship openly as we have done today, ensuring that the public of Lagos State are happy. Ìgbéga, ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó, àjùmọ̀ṣe. Thank you all very much.
Alright, before we go to the question and answer session, we would like to hear from the Chairman, House Committee on Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Honorable Hussein Abiodun Togo. He has some words for us.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to sincerely stand on the well-established protocols, and I want to commend Minister of Information for these initiatives. And I want to comment so much on the Honorable Commissioner and our team for the good job they are doing. Yes, they have made us proud, and as you can see, if we allow her, she will continue to talk. They have done much, and we are monitoring. We are lawmakers. I'm saying we are proud of her. Yes, I used to call her, she's an English woman. Yes, not the normal, yes, she's a Lagos woman. And she's doing it with passion, putting in her best, just to ensure that the state move forward economically. You understand? Yes, Lagos is the center of excellence. Lagos is the symbol of Nigeria. And with our position, she's really entrenching that the position of Lagos State in Nigeria and globally. So we are proud of the ministry, we are proud of what we are doing. Nationally, as a lawmaker, personally to me, I wouldn't have come. But we are here to give her the support because we need to encourage her to do more for Lagos State. So we are proud of it. Yes, we want to commend you so much for the support that you are giving the Honorable Commissioner and all the directors. We want to commend you, and you know that the former governor of Lagos State will say the reward of good work is more. So we want you to do more. So that at the end of the day, Lagosian will be happy, they will have access to funds, the ease of doing business will improve, access to land, access to all infrastructures will be better, and Lagos will become a world-class state. So I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Adding to the global partners that have given the Honorable Commissioner commendation, who had what the chairman has said. Thank you so much. So without wasting time, this is the time we have been waiting for pressmen. Feel free to ask ask your questions. When you want to ask your questions, please state your name and the media organization that you are representing. And please keep it concise and very simple.
Good afternoon. My name is Adiola and I report for Western Post. I have like 3 questions. Number 1, the chairman of Dangote Group said he paid millions of dollars to the Lagos state government on Dangote refinery, and landowners there claim they never collected anything. Another thing concerning that is that some people said the ballets and the chiefs in that area connived with the Lagos state government not paying landowners. Please, can you clarify on that? Then the second question, which is on supermarkets in Lagos. Supermarkets in Lagos. Please, I would like to know how many supermarkets in Lagos have been sanctioned concerning expired products in the last 1 year. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? There's someone in the front.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner and Permanent Secretary and other officials of the Ministry of Commerce, Industries and Cooperatives. I must commend what you presented today. It shows that Lagos continues to lead what has my name is Otto Asemaseko, Team Lead News Pro Share. As an Akwa I just hope that states like Akwa others will on board. The first question is around financialization, which you mentioned. Nigerian economists and global economists have talked about the future that states and federal government should look at optimizing their assets. You mentioned a bit of it, and you showed us a deal which is remarkable. I'd like you to shed some light into it, especially if Lagos has an asset register where it has all those assets that private investors can come into. I also want to commend you for this ambition for looking to Ikorodu. The perception around Ikorodu has been challenging, and this ambition has taken efforts with what we do in Beribe, in Mota, and Ogunmiyan. I'd like to ask, in terms of ESG investments, I must admit that, Honorable Commissioner, you're one of those testaments of people going from private sector to public sector and leading transformation. And one area I know that you're passionate about is ESG, sustainability investments. You mentioned $400 million new investment around bringing, and beyond that, what's the outlook for attracting more ESG investment? Because we're seeing that globally, investment will be channeled towards energy transition. And that is very critical for Nigeria and a good source of national like Lagos. And then finally, Made in Lagos is a very remarkable initiative. Just like we've heard that there's a Nigeria First policy, what are the plans to integrate the Made in Lagos into NDS procurement to ensure that we have a strengthened local content policy? Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Good afternoon. My name is Benga Salah. I like for the gathering. Thank you for your presentation. While you were speaking, you talked about Lagos securing a $4 million from Saba and is expecting a $30 million investment in 2025. We are mid the month of May. Can you give what the state has gotten so far from the projected $30 million? 2. During your presentation, you claimed that Lagos State revenue, IGR is about 70% of its revenue. And when I looked at the statistics, yesterday the Ministry of Finance was here, and they told us that the IGR for Lagos for 2024 was 1.3 trillion. And the federal allocation was 531 billion. And when I did the calculation, it was around 59.9%, which is a contradiction of the 70% they told us. 2, While you're also speaking, you mentioned that Lagos is the second largest economy, and I feel bad about that because Lagos is not the largest second economy in Africa. If you say largest city economy, I would have, but you said largest second economy in Africa. Then 3, 4, Lagos State, and this is for last October. Lagos State announced the ban on single-use plastic. But some stores, especially like ShopRite and Co, are exploiting consumers with that. Just for 2 weeks, they stopped giving single-use plastic. But after 2 weeks, they started selling that same product, that same nylon that the state government banned to people. And I feel that is an exploitation of consumers. What is Last October doing about that? Fine. Although you said the Water Industrial Light Park will be ready in the 3rd quarter of 2025. Although you said the Water Light Park is ready in the 3rd quarter of 2025.
Sorry, repeat that question. Number 5. I didn't repeat number 5.
Repeat. Go ahead.
Okay. I said, although you said that the Water Light Industrial Park is ready in the 3rd quarter of 2025, that project was started on that project. It used 4 years without completing it. And the state government has spent, we are in the 6th year of the year, yet it's been completed in the 3rd quarter. Yet we are starting another industrial parking in Benue. Because that not shows inconsistency on the part of the government, because we expect that one project is executed and delivered to add value before starting something of similar importance. Then lastly, is about while we're being introduced, they said Folashade, Tausara, Bada, for journalists, sometimes because you operate in the sector where brand identity, trademark is critical, and over time there is that conflict about your name. Sometimes you hear Folashade Ambus, sometimes you hear Folashade Los Ambus. Sometimes today I'm hearing, so please I just want to which exactly
for your very insightful questions, comments and remarks. Western Post, thank you. You were asking about the land, and I'm going to actually hand that over to the chairman to answer that particular question. But one thing that I want to just mention, we have a very strict and very strong framework in place, whereby we're working with all the communities in that access. And that is why Mr. Governor set up the Lekki Worldwide Investment Limited platform. And we have a very structured, just last week we actually met with the entire ballers of that location. We listened to them, we make sure that we address all their challenges. And we also pay them all the dividends as well. One thing you need to understand, and in the private sector, that was something that I actually led for 6 years. If they're not happy, you will know about it. The fact is, when even they're not happy and they come to you, you know something is working. Hold on.
Well, as far as the issue of land is concerned, we all know that the Land Use Act empowered the governor to be in charge of all the lands in the state across the country. But in Lagos State, there's a global acquisition, which is just to enable the government to have access to land uninhibited. You know, on land issues, before you go to know, they will want to build a project in a community. The land has been sold to private investors. So based on that, I think Lagos State government introduced a global acquisition of land and property across that corridor. But because the government did not want the people to suffer unduly, they agreed to give them a percentage for their, apart from the extension, village extension given to them, they also give them some portion for the members of the land to expand their community. So, and on the issue of the investment and all that access, government had the plans of free trade zone, and because of that, they established a special purpose vehicle, that's making Worldwide Investment Limited, to mediate between the community and the investors. So what happened is, Dangote, as an investor, approached the government. Instead of partnering, he said, okay, you want to have that land, pay, do all the due diligence so that his project will be going without any encumbrances. And you know the kind of project that is doing the oil and gas and fertilizers. Yes, so they may say, yes, money we're giving. Don't worry, there's an agreement between the government and investors. 60-40% equity investments. And after a while, when the business grows, it will be 60-40 profit sharing, which will enhance revenue generation of the state government. And that is building the future for the incoming generation. On the issue of the land, that the sales of land were sold, yes, we will have asked the land family to come and explain. But we, on our part from the Lagos State House of Assembly, we are on it, and we are investigating what is going on the issue of the land given to members of the public. But what we discover before we give you final report will be delivered on the floor of the House. We discovered that some family members were the ones shortchanging other members of the family because they were pushed in front to represent them. So when you get 20 hectares, and instead of you to declare to your people that you are giving 20 hectares, they will shortchange them, and people will continue to protest. So they've come to the House, we're working on them. The other area that is meant for government, we're going to handle that, and which is, this is a press briefing, 10% may be too small because of the volume of members. We are going to work with the ministry, we're going to recommend to the government, and the governments are very responsive because other areas that were being handled, they have listened to them and they have increased the percentage given to them. So we're going to appeal to government, we're going to recommend, and I believe with that, members of the public and land-owned family will be better and they will be happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir. The second question from Western Post was framed around the number of supermarkets in Lagos State that have been sanctioned on expired products. Did I capture that right? So far, when you look at the fact that I mentioned that Lagos State is a very thriving state, supermarkets are springing up very frequently. Thus far, when May, over 35 supermarkets have been sanctioned and made to pay fines for selling expired products. We've sealed a number of them and taken some of them to court. In addition, we've also been proactive, educating, and I'm going to use this platform to do that very same thing, educating consumers to also look out. When they say caveat emptor, buyer beware, also we're educating our consumers as well to also ensure that they also continue to report where such cases occur. And I know we have a whistleblowing line as well, don't we? Which I will also make sure you also have. ProShare, thank you very much for your question. Financialization is something that we're assiduously driving and adopting in Lagos State. When you were asking about the asset register, that's public knowledge, which I will ensure that my colleague in the relevant Ministry of Lands and other ministries, etc., will share. But in the context of our Ministry of Commerce, Cooperative Trade and Investment, financialization is framed around ensuring that we can work in partnership with the private sector, ensuring that we can democratize, where possible, the ability for MSMEs or investors that want to come and invest, they're able to invest and not be sort of impeded by the sort of exorbitant costs, for instance, on land, etc. And we're also trying to see how we can work with them to ensure that they achieve the desired outcome. You asked about the Ikorodu ESG industrial hubs and investment and the ESG importance. Yes, of course, you're absolutely right. That's something I'm very passionate about. And quite frankly, I also understand that any investor worth its salt will be asking those questions. And hence why we're actually walking the talk. So a lot of the investments that I deliberately share, we have many more. I shared a number of them. We're encouraging that as well. At the end of the day, sustainability means leaving the planet better than how you met it. And that is something that we're encouraging. A lot of our MSMEs, remember I said about import-export readiness, about them being able to scale their businesses, we have to give them capacity building so they understand what it is all about. So that's something that we're driving through the mandates that we have. And then the final one, when you asked about Made in Lagos, of course, that syncs and synergizes very closely to what we're trying to drive here. For instance, we provide space for them to exhibit their products. We provide industrial hubs for them to come and use very expensive machinery. We provide a lot of facilities, and we're also driving to make sure that even within ourselves, we encourage ourselves to also patronize each other. So I hope that's able to answer your question. Thank you. Mr. Benga Salami Guardian, thank you very much. Salao, thank you very much for your questions. Number one being the saver, you wanted to understand the details, the facts behind the figures. First and foremost, I think the important thing that we shouldn't miss here is that Lagos State has not missed any of the deadlines that has been given to us. And they are very thorough. They don't just come and dish out or disperse the funds. World Bank will actually come with a team to investigate and make sure that what we have said we've achieved has actually been validated and verified. And so I say watch this space. I look forward to sharing those details with you. You asked about IGR. My colleague, the esteemed Honorable Commissioner of Finance, his figures were very clear. We are aspirational. We said 70%. You said yesterday it was 59%. I concur with the Honorable Commissioner of Finance. The third question, Lagos being the largest economy, is a fact. We are the Africa's mega city. We are the economic, financial, and commercial capital. We are a mega city, and we do have the numbers. We contribute more than 30% of GDP of Nigeria consistently. Our job in the Ministry of Commerce is to see how we can improve upon that. Single-use plastics. Maybe I'll cede the floor to my GM for the Lagos State Consumer Protection Agency to give us an overview on that. Just give an answer on the strategy, impact, and throughput of single-use plastics.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, on the use of single plastic use and also styrofoam, the Lagos State government actually banned the use of the styrofoam and the single-use plastics. However, the Ministry of the Environment actually recommended a particular kind of material for the supermarkets and stores owners to use. And the essence is especially coupled with the fact that this is what obtains in other climes. For some of us that have left the shores of this country to go to other places, you know that if you buy anything from a supermarket or a store, you have to pay for the nylon. And that is the main reason we have to ban the nylon, because of the environmental hazard and also the pollution of our waterways. So supermarkets selling nylon, I call it nylon, it must be the one that is actually recommended by the Ministry of Environment. However, the sanction is still in place. The Honorable Commissioner just said it. When you see something, you say something. Do not suffer in silence. Ensure that you report same to the Lagos State Consumer Protection Agency. That's over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so, in other words, and I have to refute your perspective, it is not exploitation. Thank you. And then the fifth question was framed around the Imota Light Park. You said it started in 2019. You're absolutely correct. But I'm happy to say that in 2025 it will be completed. And commissioned by Mr. Governor. And I think that's the most important aspect of it, is we don't really want to sort of understand where we're coming from, but making sure that we're going to actually complete it. And I'm delighted under my leadership that is going to happen. And then finally, your last question around my name. I'm going to speak in Yoruba, and I hope everybody understands when they say Ile Latin Ko. I'm from Isaleko. I am a proud Lagosian. I am proud of my heritage. Bada is my maiden name. Councillor is my sooner name. Ambrose Medeben is my married name. And I'm proud of it. Thank you very much.